Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the July 17th town meeting of the town of Forest Heights, Maryland. The time is now 8:03 and this meeting will come to order. Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Council President McDonald,
Here.
Councilmember Little,
Present.
Councilmember Teresa Brownson, Councilmember Kennedy,
Here.
Councilmember Hines,
Present.
Councilmember Noble, Mayor Lilly.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. At this time, we will now have a moment of silence, please. Thank you. Next, we will have the Pledge of Allegiance. I would ask that everyone please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. Next, we will have approval of the meeting minutes from July 1st, 2024. Are there any objections to or requests for changes on the meeting minutes for July 1st, 2024? All right, hearing none. I move that we approve the meeting minutes from July 1st, 2024.
I second.
It has been moved and seconded that we approve the meeting minutes from July 1st, 2024. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Are there any opposed? Hearing none, the ayes have it. Next, I move to the main agenda. I move that we approve the main agenda for tonight.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that we approve the main agenda for tonight. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? The ayes have it. At this time, we'll have a presentation from Greenwell Consulting. This is the town's lobbying partner. And this evening we have with us Mr. Jonathan Carpenter. I forgot your name momentarily. Mr. Jonathan Carpenter and Miss Leslie Felice.
Thank you, Mayor, members of council, Jonathan Carpenter, Leslie Felice, Greenwell Consulting. Jonathan Carpenter, Leslie Felice, Greenwell Consulting, Ivan Lanier. We want to first thank you for the opportunity to be your eyes and ears in Annapolis. It has truly a partnership that we treasure. We don't take this lightly, the opportunity to represent you in Annapolis. Only because of your participation in Annapolis, Mayor, I want to thank you, Chief Reese. Your advocacy is the reason why we get things done in Annapolis, right? Me and Leslie, we're there every day. We're badgering and we go in our offices 24/7, but only because of your advocacy and your outreach is why we get things done, okay? They see us, but it's more impressive. We get things more done more effectively when you come to Annapolis. So we want you to continue to come and advocate for those things that we support for you and fight on your behalf. That's the things that make a difference. They see us every day, but when you come to Annapolis, it really makes a difference. There will be a lot of bills. In fact, last session, we did over 3,000 pieces of legislation. As you can imagine, going through that many bills. The budget last year was the big thing. $63 billion budget was passed. There was a $227 million shortfall that was projected because of the blueprint. They were able to make up that difference through some tobacco-related taxes and fees that amounted to 91 million a year to make up that shortfall because of those taxes and fees that brought the budget in line. The governor's budget reflected his priorities in housing, affordable housing, public safety, and education. Just three of the main things that they fought for last year. Again, the thing that we fought for the town of Forest Heights, the local impact grants. Again, we did not get what we want, but it did open some doors. You got to start somewhere, and we think there's going to be some positive action that will come from that in conversations with MGM and some of the other surrounding community businesses. So again, we'll continue to fight. I'll let Leslie talk a little bit about some of our legislative agenda and some of the bills that we have advocated for as a part of our agenda.
Thank you. Good evening. So I will be going over a few bills that we advocated on behalf of the town because you all wanted us to prioritize it. And I also added bills that were specific to Prince George's County that could be of importance to you all. The first one is Senate Bill 747, which also had a House bill cross-file. And this was the local audit reporting bill. This was a pretty big bill amongst the municipalities and the counties. The issue with this one is, as you all may recall, there was language in there where 20% of state aid for police aid, highway user revenues, and disparity grants could be taken away. And a lot of the municipalities that came in to testify, they were concerned because of the police aid. As you all know, there are shortages. You guys already have been suffering from budget cuts. So they felt like this was just another needle in the haystack. And they just wanted to do this because they think that the audits are coming in too late. They feel that there were too many municipalities and counties that were behind. So there was a lot of pushback from the legislators, but this bill does show the importance of coming in to testify and submitting written testimony because they did listen to everyone who had concerns regarding the police aid. And they came back at the end and made an amendment where they took that out. And they also made it a prospective bill, so it won't impact anyone who's late prior to fiscal year 2024. So it gives a little bit more time to get those audits in, but they still want people to be on time moving forward. The next one is Senate Bill 14. This was a big bill that was supported by MML, which is the tourism zones. So this will allow for municipalities to establish tourism zones, and you would be able to have certain exemptions for the gross receipts of amusement and admission tax. So just something to consider if it is something that you believe could attract more businesses to the area to increase tourism and economic development. And the next two, these are both pilot programs that, again, are specific to Prince George's County. The first one is stop sign monitoring systems. As you all have heard, there have been, unfortunately, a number of incidents in the county. And so this pilot program is seeking to see if the stop sign systems could actually help combat that issue. They also have received a lot of concerns from constituents regarding noise. There's a lot of cars that have those illegal mufflers, and a lot of residents are complaining because early in the morning they're being woken up by this. So they did allow for a pilot program to be done in the county for noise abatement systems. And how they work is that they measure the decibel system, the decibel for the cars, and that would determine if they get a ticket or a warning. So again, that's a pilot program that could be done in Prince George's County and Montgomery County only. And the last, the next two bills that I will mention are work groups that are for Prince George's County. One is a health and wellness work group. It's pretty self-explanatory. They want to see what can be done to help with the food deserts and other health issues that we see in the county. And the next one is for independent innovation. So they want to see what areas can we bring in and focus on doing innovation. It's very broad. It just says in the bill, industry innovation. So they're looking to see what exactly they could bring to the county and where could they place it. So the last bill here is Senate Bill 148. This is flood management grant programs. So they did some major changes to this program. It's a program that goes through the Department of Environment. And now 40% of that funding has to be specifically for overburdened or underserved communities. And they did add they added funding to it. So now there's a total of $20 million starting fiscal year 2026. We do want the town to look a little bit more into this and determine if you do qualify for overburdened or underserved. So if you do need information on what that exactly is, what the criteria is, we'd be happy to send that via email. But those are all of the bills I wanted to mention today. I also wanted to mention a grant that I sent via email a few days ago, which is the Enough grant. This was a pretty big bill. As you all know, it was the governor's priority. And it's right now until Friday, they have the eligibility intake form open. It's a pretty quick deadline, but if you do qualify and are interested, I do encourage you to apply. In order to be eligible, you have to qualify for one of these two. One, you have to have at least one U.S. Census tract where more than 30% of children are living in poverty, or two, be served by a Maryland community school with a concentration of poverty level of at least 80%. So those are the two criterias you need. Either one, you have to at least qualify for one of those to apply. So that is all for grants and legislation. As you know, July 1st, the bills officially became enacted in Maryland, and I did send an email with that document. It was pretty extensive, about 100 pages, but if you happen to be looking at it in your leisure time and have a bill you have a question on, always feel free to call us, and we'd be happy to talk more about it. So yeah, I'll open it up to any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Carpenter, Ms. Felice. Yeah, just one quick question on the flood management grant bill. What was that bill number?
Senate Bill 148.
Are there any questions from council members for Greenwell?
I have one question. One question I have is thank you for coming and sharing with us these bills. So for SB 747, the local audit reporting. So going forward, we can't be later than fiscal year 2024. So they took off, you said, the police monitoring. So that's a non-issue now?
Yes, the police aid. So now, before they could take away 20% of that funding if you are receiving state aid, but now that's not a part of that.
So were there any other stipulations in there that we should be mindful of?
Yes, the highway user revenues is still in there, and disparity grants.
And what kind of grants? I'm sorry.
Disparity grants.
Disparity grants.
And I would like to commend Chief Reese and Minority Chiefs Alliance for their support in making sure they were advocating to do away with that the police aid that they could withhold that. So they were big players in that.
Okay. I think it would be helpful too if we do know. I think you all had already been alerting us as to when it would be, I guess, a good time to show up in Annapolis, because I heard what you said in terms of presence makes a difference. So I guess if we know when you think would be those high times, if you will, that we should be present, that would be helpful.
Yeah, so one of the things we encourage, and we could talk about this, is doing like a Forest Heights day in Annapolis, where you go around and meet with your delegation members. We will set those meetings up, and you come and you meet with each delegation members and maybe some members of some of the committees. That's something that I think every municipality should do. Have that type of day in Annapolis. Also, we like to encourage you, as we constantly communicate. A lot of people think that lobbyists is just a 90-day and then it's done, right? So we constantly communicate, and I hope that you always get our emails when we send out our reports and our progress. We want you to read those, because there are specific things that might not even pertain to the town, but you're interested in.
Yeah.
So reach out to us, and maybe we can add some input or put you in the right place in advocating for some of those things that you have an interest in also. So we constantly like to do that.
And one last question, the SB 14, you said that it might be of interest to us because of the tourism zones, amusement, and what was the other one?
Yes, the amusement and admission tax. So you would be able to do certain exemptions to that, to the gross receipts for that.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, and Council President, that's interesting because I believe that we are entertaining a change to our charter or code that would allow us in the future to collect amusement and admission. So it means that we could attract a business and then give them exemption where they'll have a reduction on what they have to pay. Okay,
Yeah.
is that correct? Thank you.
So clarity on one thing, the pilot, you mentioned two pilots. So one is the stop sign monitoring system.
Mhm.
And what was the other one? Oh, is it well, no, those were other two bills, Health and Wellness Work Group and the Independent Innovation.
Yes, those are two work groups. The pilot programs, the other one is the noise abatement
Noise
monitoring
abatement.
systems.
Okay, got it. Thank you. And so these pilots are going to be run within the county, and the results from those pilots would then lead to what?
Yes, so I'm going to backtrack a little bit, just so you understand the process fully. So the stop sign monitoring systems, for example, that it's specific to school zones. So that's one thing to consider. But also, it's something that they do want the county to oversee. So you would have to get approval from them, but we would work with you if that is something you want to do. And then from there, they do want to report. They do want that data at the end of the day to see if they can do this statewide. I believe they took off the deadline for that. Originally, it was 2029, if I'm not mistaken. But as of right now, they haven't set a limit to it. So they could always come back next year and put a deadline in, but right now it's open-ended.
Okay. And one last thing, Mayor.
Yeah.
Grant, the enough grant, the eligibility criteria, can you restate that, please?
So the first one, at least one US Census tract where more than 30% of children are living in poverty. And the second one, be served by a Maryland community school with a concentration of poverty level of at least 80%.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Council President McDonald. Are there any other questions from council members for Greenwell at this time? Well, hearing none, Jonathan and Leslie, thank you both for being here, for the work that you're doing, for the information you're delivering to the town. We obviously have many needs around the areas of the bills that you highlighted. We did a pilot with Avio on the stop sign monitoring system, so we have some data of our own to review when we make a decision about if we'll proceed. And let's work together to do that Forest Heights Day where we get council members and other folks from the community to go visit the delegation so they see our faces, they know that we're connected, and we continue our engagement with them outside of the 90-day legislative cycle. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next, ladies and gentlemen, we will move into legislation. And the first item under legislation this evening is ordinance 10-24. My apologies. No, it's not. It's legislation is here. Yep, because it's an. Yep. So we have ordinance 10-24. This is an ordinance of the town of Forest Heights amending Article 1, general provisions of the ordinance code of the town of Forest Heights regarding fee schedules and changing fees, fines, and penalties, and generally relating to town fees and monetary policies. and this item is introduced by the town council. This is the first reading of this ordinance, so we're not taking action on this tonight. But are there any questions for ordinance number 10-24? Mr. O'Connor or Mr. Best, let me know who's best equipped to give an overview for ordinance number 10-24, please.
I think Mr. Best would be best to describe the various changes to the code since he's on.
Good evening, Mr. Best. Could you give a brief overview of ordinance number 10-24, please?
Yes, good evening, Mayor and Council. This ordinance, what it does is it changes the general provisions article to allow all the fees, both fees and penalties or fines that are found in the code's various provisions that assign a fee or a penalty. It allows those changes or increases to those fees or decreases to the fees to be done by mere resolution as opposed to an ordinance. So instead of passing an ordinance to amend the language setting a fee or fine in the code, you simply pass a resolution. Now, if the amount being changed is a penalty resulting from a criminal misdemeanor or a municipal infraction, because that affects the public more directly, that would have to, the resolution would have to be posted and advertised in the town newsletter or newspaper general circulation. So there's an exception for that, but all other fees that are changed would be allowed to be done by resolution. So that's the gist of it. I was asked to prepare this ordinance. I think it came from one of the committees through Mr. O'Connor. So did I miss anything, John?
No, that's a great synopsis. The only addition I would say is that there's once this ordinance does take effect, there's a resolution that would accompany it adjusting the fees that came out of committee. So this ordinance, once it comes in effect, there'll be more legislative actions on behalf of the council.
Thank you, Mr. Best and Mr. O'Connor. Are there any questions related to ordinance 10-24?
Yes.
Councilmember Kennedy.
So the committee made a recommendation. The town attorney drafted this legislation, but there was no thought given to the fee schedule prior to.
It's two separate items. So this is enabling legislation that changes the ability from everything to be an ordinance. And what it does is it allows the town to set fees by resolution. Once this is passed, there is a resolution that was provided to council and committee gave input on, but it was provided the last meeting where the fees are adjusted. And once feedback, if any feedback's got received from council, those fees can be adjusted accordingly in that particular resolution. So since this is an ordinance, it has quite a few steps to go through. Council has that, so the resolution wouldn't be until October. By then, any fees or requests from council or anything else can be adjusted within that.
Okay, I just want to make sure that people don't agree to this, and I understand the function of it, but I just don't want, once this is passed, for people to vote yes and change some of these fees to something that may not be realistic.
No, this council member, this particular ordinance is just enabling legislation. There will be time, of course, for further discussion and deliberation on the resolution related to the fees. And of course, the option's always available to refer it back to committee for more exploration and or studying.
Let me add something if I could.
Yes, Mr.
Yeah.
Best.
Yeah, what I'd like to add is there's many municipalities that they revisit all their fees, typically fees, not so much penalties. They revisit those every year or every other year, and they pass what's called a schedule or a fee schedule. So they do a carte blanche change almost every year, every other year. And this ordinance allows that as well. You can do it piecemeal. You can do a resolution changing one fee or penalty, but you can do it as a groupage or in a tabular form. I think I've already prepared. I went through a month or two ago the code and prepared a table for a draft resolution that encompasses all the fees. So I think the town administrator has that in his computer.
Thank you, Mr. Best. Councilmember Kennedy, any other questions related to ordinance number 10-24?
No, thank you.
Thank you. We're also, again, this is the first reading, so we'll have this ordinance back at a future meeting before it will be up for action or vote. Are there any further questions from other council on ordinance 10-24? All right, hearing none, we will move to the next item on the agenda. Next, we will have the first public period of the evening. If there's anyone online or in the gallery this evening who wishes to speak during public period, you will have 2 minutes to provide comment. And before doing so, we will just ask that you give your full name. Is there anyone who wishes to speak during public period at this time? Okay, we have no one for public period at this time, so the first public period for this evening is now closed. Next, we'll move into legislation for action. And the first item of legislation this evening is Resolution 57-24. This is a resolution providing for a Vision Zero policy to eliminate fatalities and serious injuries that are a result of crashes on streets within the incorporated limits of the town of Forest Heights by January 1st, 2030. Is there a motion to adopt Resolution 57-24?
To adopt resolution 57-24.
Is there a second?
A second.
It has been moved and seconded that we adopt Resolution 57-24. Discussion. If I would ask, Mr. O'Connor, could you give another overview of Resolution 57-24 and its purpose?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. This resolution adopts a philosophy of Vision Zero. Vision Zero is zero traffic fatalities within our jurisdiction, but more so in the state of Maryland. And it's a national and international effort for zero traffic fatalities. By adopting this resolution, the mayor and council is thereby adopting the philosophy that we will increase pedestrian safety, bicyclist safety, motor vehicle safety on our main thoroughfares, as well as our secondary roads within the town, driving towards that goal of zero traffic fatalities. Beyond the philosophy, adoption of this philosophy puts us in line with the Prince George's County traffic safety efforts overall, the state of Maryland traffic safety efforts, traffic safety plans, the consolidated traffic plan for the state, and opens up doors for us on the federal side for grant funding or eligibility to even apply for the particular grants that are available for Safe Streets for All.
Thank you, Mr. O'Connor. Are there any questions related to Resolution 57-24 at this time from council? Council President McDonald.
One question, is the road safety audit, what is that, Mr. O'Connor? The road safety audit and the process? Once this is implemented or is implemented?
So it's not necessarily mandatory to do the road safety audit, which can cost money. But what we can do is we can apply for grant funding for a road safety audit to implement the plans. And basically what we do is we look at what particular roadways that we feel there's going to be traffic accidents. We essentially do it with the speed cameras and red light programs now. How many vehicles, how many fatalities, how many pedestrians injured, all the historical data that comes when the police department takes accident reports. We take all that data, we put it together. You have an audit team that's put together. You actually walk that particular set of roadway and do a field inspection. You look at the lines in the road, the curvature of the road, the coefficient of friction on the roadway. Then you do an ultimate risk assessment as where does this road fall on the danger levels. From that, you make the recommendations. Then let's see, you're going to choose a few roads. So let's say we choose 210 and Oxon Hill. You're now going to prioritize them as to what you're going to focus on first. Then there's some community involvement. There's some other stakeholder involvement, Prince George's County, the State Highway Administration. And then ultimately what happens is you implement that plan and you can utilize the Safe Streets money to do it. So for instance, if you were looking at bike lanes, we would choose particular roads, whether it's Arapahoe or Sachem, Seneca, and say, what is the risk assessment here? How is this funding going to be put there? And what is the safety benefit that those bike lanes are going to serve because there are no sidewalks in that particular area? So that's what the entire thing happens with that. It is a long process, but it's a stakeholder involved process.
One last follow-up question. So I guess I'm just asking in terms of any financial obligations that we would have to be mindful of at all.
This philosophy in itself, there's no financial obligations that this resolution commits the town to. Any financial obligations would come from the application for any grant funding, of course, which would come back to the mayor and council for ultimate approval. So this resolution is a philosophy, not monetary.
Thank you.
Mr. O'Connor, you mentioned Maryland 210. So I know that's a state highway, but after adopting the Vision Zero policy, we'd be able to potentially bring in support for improvements to the state roadway as well.
Yes. By doing this, we're entering a larger network. The State Highway Administration, Maryland Department of Transportation is pushing Vision Zero. The Consolidated Transportation Plan, we're adopting it. So once that's a part of this resolution, so that gets the buy-in that's necessary in order to facilitate driving those changes that you're speaking of.
Thank you, Mr. O'Connor. Are there any other questions for Resolution 57-24 at this time? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Council President McDonald,
Yes.
Councilmember Little,
Yes.
Councilmember Kennedy,
Absolutely.
Councilmember Hines,
Yes.
Mayor Lilly,
Yes.
the ayes have it, Mayor.
Can you announce the vote count?
Oh, Councilmember Noble,
You could just let us know how many yays we had.
5 yeas.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Next, we will have Resolution 58-24. This is a resolution to declare and dispose of a Department of Public Works truck as surplus property. I move that we adopt Resolution 58-24.
A second.
It has been moved and seconded that we adopt Resolution 58-24. Discussion. I'm going to go to Mr. O'Connor to give an overview of Resolution 58-24.
Mr. Mayor, this resolution is to surplus two Department of Public Works vehicles, a Ford F-250 and a Chevy Silverado. The Ford F-250 is no longer serviceable as it is severely rusted out and the gas tank fell off of the vehicle while being operated by a town employee. It is placed out of service. And the Chevy Silverado is in need of a full transmission replacement and drivetrain replacement, as well as engine work. It's sitting down at Fleet right now on a hold. The reason these vehicles are where they are now is because previous lack of maintenance plans. They were not being properly maintained under previous leadership. They did start getting put onto a maintenance plan. However, it has become highly expensive to keep these vehicles in service and far outweighs the service that they're providing or recovering any investment, but beyond that, the safety of the employees. At this time, there's no intention of replacing the vehicles just due to the overall cost and weighing other options that may be more viable in December and January. We are keeping the snow in mind and are starting to prepare because the F-250 was a plow truck. So we're gonna be adapting to not having the F-250, which was a plow truck, should we get any inclement weather. But Mr. Belnavis has taken proactive measures to go ahead and alleviate that once the time comes. But hopefully we'll have a light winter. And that is the brief synopsis on that.
Thank you, Mr. O'Connor. If you could touch on what our plan is to deal with snow if we get it. I know it would be nice to not get it, but if we do get it, we want to be prepared. Could you tell us what we're planning to do in that situation?
Yeah, so we're the trucks that we do have are gonna be utilized, and what we're gonna do is we're looking at the snow removal routes to maximize the efficiency of them and looking at the roads as a secondary and main roads. So rather than just blanketly plowing, what we're gonna look at is our main roads that need to be done first, and then we'll hit the secondary roads after that. The vehicles we do have are both capable of plowing, and the one is capable of salting. So DPW would do on the ground assessments of the roadways. They will also be pre-treating ahead of time, which will help alleviate a lot of any ice conditions and or snow. We do have the brine solution, which can be pulled behind, and that'll help with the initial layers. Once the temperature drops pretty much below 20 degrees, salt is ineffective for the most part. So we try to get out to the roads before it gets too bad on the roadways, get a nice layer of salt. But we got to wait for about 2 inches of snow for the salt to be really effective. So those are all the things that we're weighing and assessing on primary, secondary roads. Of course, we don't plow Highway 210 or Oxon Hill Road, and we do not plow Livingston Road. And sidewalk, parking lots, and anything of that nature are going to be considered last on the list for plowing until the primary roads are taken care of, so residents can get in and out from their home.
In the event we need more support, can you work with Mr. Belnavis to identify a contractor if we need additional support?
Yes, that is one of the mechanisms that we do have available to us, and I have worked with Mr. Belnavis on that. I think we have something very, very preliminary, but we are working through that.
Thank you, Mr. O'Connor. Council President McDonald, did you have a question?
I'm just trying to get clarity.
Mhm.
So it states here that we have identified a possible recipient, if you will, of the vehicle. The veteran car donations or cars for kids or some other worthy 501c3 charity organization. I'm just trying to get clarity. Are we retaining this in our as surplus rather, or are we donating it?
Oh, so when we surplus it, it's done. We're no longer using it. Disposing of the property. I think that it's just a different term on the surplus. So this would be likely given to charity. Where we wouldn't get much for the vehicles anyway. So in preparing this resolution, Mr. Best put the the veteran car donations, car for kids, but we, like you said, some other worthy 501c3 we may be able to find and donate the vehicle to them.
I guess that's where I'm not sure. Are we keeping the vehicle? Are we donating it? I think that's
No.
what I'm just trying to be clear about.
Oh, no, we're getting rid of the vehicle.
Okay. And we're gonna give it to one of these recipients.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Question.
Councilmember Kennedy, yes, please go ahead.
So are either of these two vehicles the one that needs basically the whole bed replaced anyway?
Be the F-250.
Okay. Is that also the one that needs the right door and fender replaced?
Yes.
Okay. So I guess we're gonna try to wing it through the next fiscal year, and then in hopes of being able to replace both of these vehicles the next fiscal year.
Well, hopefully we won't have to wait till the next fiscal year, but there's other methods that are being explored right now, which may be more financially beneficial to the town for fleet services. I personally do not want to wait until the next fiscal year. DPW has been doing a great job with the limited resources they have, but these vehicles are something that we do need to continue to provide efficient services. It's just being mindful of the upfront capital investment it would take to equip these vehicles, and keeping that along with the funding and I guess you call paying the bills. So rather than doing a large upfront capital investment right now, it's for the town fiscally, it's a little bit better to wait until after Q1, and then we have some other revenue streams that we're looking at that'll be coming online as well. Combine that with the fleet services that we've been exploring with Enterprise, we may have a very viable economic solution that has a 5-year plan versus just making an upfront capital investment.
Okay. I'm assuming that since these vehicles are probably the older two, that there is nothing we can salvage off of any of them.
No, these vehicles are just the plows. Yeah, just the plows. That's what we're keeping off of it. The plow equipment. Yeah, and the salt equipment. Other than that, the vehicles are not salvageable past that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Kennedy. Are there any questions on resolution 58-24? All right, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Council President McDonald,
Yes.
Councilmember Lilly.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry, Little.
Yes.
Councilmember Kennedy,
Yes.
Councilmember Hines,
Yes.
and Mayor Lilly.
Yes.
We have 5 yet. The ayes have it.
Thank you. All right, the next item on the agenda for this evening under legislation is resolution 59-24. And this is a resolution approving a contract renewal with Civic Plus for virtual webmaster hosting and support, live streaming, and website redesign services. Is there a motion to adopt Resolution 59-24?
I make a motion that we adopt resolution 59-24.
Is there a second?
A second.
It has been moved and seconded that we adopt Resolution 59-24. Discussion. Well, Mr. O'Connor will give an overview to give the council a primer. Thank you.
Mayor and Council, Civic Plus is our current web provider. The town's website is hosted by Civic Plus. They provide webmaster support on that. What this does is it gives us 5 hours monthly of a virtual webmaster from Civic Plus. It is our annual fee for hosting and support. It comes with a site security certificate. And of course, all the media and anything that we're uploading on there, whether it's resolutions, ordinances, photos, it comes with 10 gigabytes of storage. Currently, there's 2 staff members that have access to the website to do updates. That's Ms. Payne and Mr. Waddell. They're in the process of trying to get the website functional at this point and updated. There's many pages that aren't there. This is a renewal of the services that have already been provided. So if we choose not to do this, we would be looking for a different web host or and have to get a different fee structure. Civic Plus does provide the website for a large percentage of municipal governments.
Thank you, Mr. O'Connor. Are there questions on Resolution 59-24? Okay, well, hearing none. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Council President McDonald,
Yes.
Councilmember Little,
Yes.
Councilmember Kennedy,
Yes.
Councilmember Hines,
Yes.
Mayor Lily.
Yes.
We have 5 yeses. The ayes have it, Mayor.
Thank you. Next, we will have Resolution 60-24. This is a resolution to set forth and declare Forest Heights Day to be held on September 21st, 2024. I move that we adopt Resolution 60-24. Is there a second?
A second.
It has been moved and seconded that we adopt Resolution 60-24. Discussion.
Yes.
Councilmember, I'm gonna go to Councilmember Hines and then Councilmember Kennedy.
Okay, my concern or my question is, we found that, or we had Forest Heights Day in April, I believe. We did a whole weekend. Why is it that we're having something again for Forest Heights Day? I don't understand. That would be my question.
Thank you, Council. Well, thank you, Councilmember Hines. It was brought to our attention from some council that the community would still like to see a day that's specifically Forest Heights Day outside of the anniversary. So we set aside money in the budget to do that this year, and we discussed it at a recent meeting. So it's on the agenda tonight. But yeah, it was budgeted in FY25's budget, $4,000 for the event, scaled back significantly from past years due to budget constraints. But it is here. Councilmember Kennedy.
Yes. So we did vote to move it into September. So should we just not do like how we used to the first Saturday in September or the third Saturday in September, as opposed to having to do a resolution every year for the date?
I'm sorry, I didn't get the question.
So in the past, it used to be, I believe, the first Saturday in August. So,
Yes.
so there were enough people who voted to move it to the next month, so it wouldn't be as hot. So should we just not say that, hey, the third Saturday in September will be Forest Heights Day here to Fort Worth, as opposed to having to every year say September 21st, September, whatever that Saturday is for the 2026, 27, and so forth and so on.
Well, I open it up to council. Is there any thought or opinion on future years? Councilmember Hines.
So I'm understanding Councilman Kennedy to say, if you were to do it, we're gonna do it like the third Saturday of every year in September. Is that what you're saying, Councilman Kennedy?
Yes, ma'am. Because in the past, it was the first Saturday in, I believe, August. So, like I said, instead of having to say, every year come back and revisit the date, in the past, it was just the first Saturday in August. So, if we're saying the 21st, that may be the third Saturday. So, that'll be the official quote unquote Forest Heights Day, the third Saturday, whatever day it might be, or whatever date it might be.
Thank you, Councilmember Kennedy and Councilmember Hines. Well, I think it might be advantageous maybe for us to consider another resolution after this pretty soon, maybe in September, to officially enshrine the third week in September, potentially, if council agrees, as the regular Forest Heights Day. Would that suffice?
I would say
Let me go to
that
Councilmember Kennedy first.
I'm sorry. I would
Go
say
ahead, Councilmember Kennedy.
we would revisit it after this year's Forest Heights Day to see what the weather and everything else is looking like.
Sounds like a solid suggestion. Thanks, Councilmember Kennedy. Councilmember Hines?
My question is also, are we gonna do this again when we have we wanna, 10 years from now, and we wanna celebrate the actual day of Forest Heights, which is in April? Are we gonna continue to keep doing this, or are we just gonna kind of like Forest Heights Day is in September?
Well, tonight's resolution is only for this year. And I believe the reason it moved to August, there wasn't a resolution, if I'm not mistaken, but it was held that time because many years you all got rained out in April. Does that sound correct? Okay. So the resolution tonight won't affect the rest of the years to come. I think it's worth and bears more discussion for council if they want to enshrine it in that month. But tonight's resolution only affects this year, and it gives us a little time to plan and get volunteers together, vendors, and to get it advertised in the newsletter for this month as well, for next month as well. Councilmember Little.
Is the budget 3,000 or 4,000? Because I'm looking at this year's budget and it's saying 3,000 in that budget line.
Well, that's a good catch. Thank you. Can we get a confirmation on the budget line?
What page is it? And why isn't my picture in this? But
Were you asking somebody in particular about verifying that?
That's in,
So-
my apologies. That's Mr. O'Connor's looking for it now.
Yeah, I just pulled up the budget. It does in fact have $3,000.
Okay. So we need an amendment to change it to the resolution to match what's in the budget line. Give me just a moment. Okay. I'm looking at the resolution. It's not in the resolution itself. It was in the fiscal impact under the agenda for board docs. So we don't have to amend the resolution, but we are stating emphatically so those who are here in the meeting understand the budget is 3,000. Correct, Mr. O'Connor?
Correct. 3,000.
All right. Is there any other discussion on resolution 60-24? Council President McDonald.
I'm just trying to understand, how do we come up with this amount and what program is going to support $3,000?
So $3,000 was from the budget work sessions. I believe there was I do recall one meeting in which programming was being spoken about, going over the budget. My council member requested that we still have Forest Heights Day. And we would need to allocate funding from it. So that's where the funding allocation came from. What programming what would we be doing for $3,000? Well, we started having preliminary conversations related to that. It's going to be small scale, likely be at the community center, some music, just some basic food, try and coordinate vendors that would come, where the town is not putting out the money for it. So it would be at the gathering place, I'm sorry. So that is what we're going to be working with for $3,000. I think we can make it go pretty far based on the events that we've had. I'm pretty sure Prince George's County and others will send some vendors. Yeah, if it gets any other way, I'm sure I'll have a conversation with the mayor to let them know where we're sitting with it. It's not going to be a large event at all for that amount of money.
Yeah, we have not had a
And so-
Forest Heights Day for $3,000 in over a decade.
I think the way as it was presented is, since it wouldn't normally be $3,000, the only reason is I guess the intention of the body was not to have the Forest Heights Day because of the large gala that was gone for the 75th. But it was brought up that some residents would still like to have it. So it's something small to recognize Forest Heights Day on top of the large anniversary 75th event that was taking place. We'll work with whatever budget we're given to make it the best that we possibly can for the residents.
Now, Council President, I'm hearing questions. Are we sure we still want to do this? Because we don't have to. It's a smaller budget. Will it meet the council's need? Yes, Councilmember Hines, and I'll go to Councilmember Kennedy.
My concern is, you say that it's gonna be scaled down. And will it meet the community's, no, it won't. And I don't, yeah, so, yeah, I'm not for it.
Mhm.
Councilmember Kennedy?
I mean, if we're scaling it down to that degree, I don't know what type of vendors you're referencing. Probably, well, I guess I do, but it probably wouldn't be food vendors. We would have to go back how we used to do it many years ago. Is we actually had somebody actually cook, hot dogs and hamburgers, and the town gave out hot dogs and hamburgers, because food vendors, I know we were trying to transition away from it. And a lot of municipalities do not give out, vouchers for food. But I think we have to start somewhere.
Mr. Mayor, if I may make a recommendation. There's other events that we do have that we could use this money for. I think we have the
Harvest
Thank
Day.
you. Harvest, that's the one I was thinking. I
Haunted
couldn't remember
House.
the name. The Harvest Festival, I think it could go towards that. It could go towards, we have the haunted house that coincides with that. There's plenty of things that we could utilize this for where I think we may get more community impact. We did have the gala. It can't hurt. We could still recognize Forest Heights Day in whatever fashion we want. Maybe best served.
I would also add that it would give us more time to formulate a full committee of community members and council who want to contribute and help shape the event, make it to what the community would like to see it to be. And then we can also engage our community partners again to get on their schedule so they can show up and help donate items, whether it's food or giveaways. We can get the vendors that we want and engage the community. So, if the council is okay with it, maybe we'll decide to let resolution 60-24 die on the table. And instead we plan now, put the committee together within next month for a full Forest Heights Day next year at the scale and the experience that will be meaningful to residents and that they've come to expect. And we can use the funds, potentially council can introduce or consider a resolution to move the funds into some of the other activities we'll have happening the month later in October. Are we all in favor of that?
Well, can I say something else?
Yes, Councilmember Kennedy.
All right, so let's keep in mind, everybody keeps referencing Forest Heights Day when talking about the 75th year anniversary. It's two totally separate things. So for everyone who didn't get a chance to come to the 75th anniversary, one of the many, one of the 3 nights or days, Forest Heights Day has been in existence since as long as I can remember. So for us to not have one, I wouldn't be for that. I mean, even if we did something small, like I said, if we went back old school, what we used to do and, had somebody or several people cook, at least we can have, maybe even a band. I'm sure that the folder for Forest Heights Day is probably jam-packed with the vendors we have used, or other people who have contributed to make the previous Forest Heights Day what they have been. Obviously, it's not going to be like last year. I don't know if we'll ever have one on the scale of the one last year.
Thank you, Councilmember Kennedy, for your comments. I don't think at this time we have support on resolution 60-24, but I do appreciate your comments.
I just want to make a comment.
Council President McDonald.
I don't think we don't have the support for Forest Heights Day. We don't have support for the program that $3,000 would do. That's more of the that's more of the disagreement. Forest Heights Day is what we had said before, that feedback from the community was they wanted a Forest Heights Day. So it's not that we don't want to do Forest Heights Day, it's the budget that we have to work with that we don't think is sufficient.
Thank you for the added context, Council President. Mr. O'Connor.
There's one last option. You could still designate September 21st as Forest Heights Day. And you could still, it doesn't necessarily call for any expenditures of funds by designating it Forest Heights Day. And you could still do that. And then we could figure something out with the budget line item for other events at the same time. So still do both. Or at least give some time to consider any other options.
I think at this time, it's best to let Resolution 60-24 stay on the table. Any other thoughts or comments on Resolution 60-24? And again, to echo what Council President said, it's not that we're against having it, it's just that with the budget that we've set and the expectation of residents and what we want to deliver, we can do something more like we've done. And I think we can even plan it very well, have a lot of notice out, make sure turnout is really, really good. We won't have any meetings next month to publicize the event before the first meeting in September, which gives us a shorter window to make sure folks turn out. So with that being said, I think we're going to move on to the next item on the agenda. But thank you all for your comments, thoughtful comments.
One last question.
Yes, Council. Yes, Councilmember Kennedy.
So are we going to have a Forest Heights Day or not?
As it stands, no, not for this year. But again, that's the rest of this year, the calendar year. We have next year, and we can invite in some partners to help us sponsor the event, to look at maybe food donations, giveaway donations. We have time to partner and really build it up to what we would like to see it be.
So is there a motion to table this?
I will provide the motion. I move that we table Resolution 60-24.
I second.
It has been moved and seconded that we table Resolution 60-24. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed?
Nay.
Madam Clerk, can you record the members who voted yay and Councilmember Kennedy voted nay on that procedural motion?
And also, if everyone could, when they do speak, please turn the mic on.
Thank you for the reminder, Councilman Kennedy. All right, next we will move to Resolution 61-24. This is a resolution authorizing the council to recess for August 2024. And this is introduced by the mayor and town council of Forest Heights. I move that we adopt Resolution 61-24.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that we adopt Resolution 61-24. Discussion. There is some discussion. So we have a firm that's handling a recruitment of town administrator for us. The window for that application process closes on June 20th and July 20th, my apologies. I spoke with Mr. David Deutsch today, and their process for reviewing the applications and developing recommendations for council is likely going to be happening and moving during August. So I just wanted to add the caveat that while we're recessing our 2 regular meetings in August, which would be the first Monday and the third Wednesday for August, I may ask that council meets just so we can keep the process of hiring a town administrator on track and not push it out over a 30-day period if we need to begin reviewing candidates. So there may be a special meeting potentially needed, just so that we can keep that process moving and try to have our candidate in place if possible. Is there any other discussion on Resolution 61-24? All right, hearing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Council President McDonald,
Yes.
Councilmember Lilly. Oh, I'm sorry, Little.
Yes.
Councilmember Kennedy,
Yes.
Councilmember Hines,
No.
Mayor Lilly,
Yes.
we have 4 yeses and 1 nay.
Motion
The
passes.
motion passes.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Next, we have Resolution 62-24. This is a resolution to approve a state matching grant for police body armor. And this resolution is introduced by myself, Mayor Lilly. I move that we adopt Resolution 62-24.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that we adopt Resolution 62-24. Discussion. Chief Reese, could you please give an overview of Resolution 62-24?
Absolutely, Mayor. So, Mayor and Council, this resolution comes from Governor's Office of Crime Control and Prevention. It's a matching grant. The dollar amount is $4,000. It's to help us purchase help us purchase to replace the expired body armor vest. The normal lifespan for a body armor vest is about 5 years. So when it's near the expiration date, we try to look for funding sources to try to help us purchase those. So right now, that's what we're going through now. And this grant, we normally get this grant. Got it probably about 5 years ago. So it's coming up for that time. And I think Mr. O'Connor wrote this grant. So we got it. And it's a matching grant. We currently have in our it falls under law enforcement capital expense. Which we do is take the funds that's in there and try to match it with it. A body armor normally costs for one officer is about $900 to $1,000. So for one person. So this it would definitely help us out.
Thank you, Chief Reese. Are there any questions from council on Resolution 62-24? Council
Yes.
President McDonald. Oh, I'm going to go to Council President McDonald, and then Councilmember Kennedy.
One question, Chief Reese, the grant amount is $4,930.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that gonna be sufficient to match what we have that's gonna, get body?
So let me,
Cause my question, just so I can include this, how many body cams do you actually need in your response? That's
so it's the body armor, so our
a
ballistic
body armor,
vest.
right?
So we do need about 5. So this will help us. It's not every officer. It's like it will probably be the ones that's been here for a little bit. It's time for a refresh for them. And so it's not everybody. So it's not the whole department.
Thank you.
Councilmember Kennedy.
Yeah, so you actually did a good job of explaining. You answered a couple of my questions. Now, I do have another question, though. Do these body armors have a shelf life?
Yes, all body armor should have a shelf life to about 5 years.
Is that because the material breaks down, or because as you wear it every day, it helps to break it down?
No, it's because it breaks down. So the manufacturer, it gives it, we go by what they recommend, and it's about 5 years dealing with, the impact of a round.
Okay, so this grant would be more than sufficient to replace the ones that are needed.
Correct. So normally what happens is this grant comes around not too often. So when it does come around, we try to jump on it. But normally when we do hire an officer, these vests are custom. So they have to get measured to the officer, make sure it fits correctly. So it normally just comes straight out of our budget. But now that this opportunity came around, it's kind of coincidence that our longer officers that's been here for a little bit over 5 years, their vest is coming to expiration. And so we want to go ahead and get them while we have the opportunity.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Kennedy and Chief Reese. Is there any further discussion for Resolution 62-24? Council President McDonald. Hearing no further discussion, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Council President McDonald.
Yes.
Councilmember Little.
Yes.
Councilmember Kennedy.
Yes.
Councilmember Hines.
Yes.
Mayor Lily.
Yes.
We have 5 yeses. The ayes have it, Mayor.
Thank you. Motion passes. All right. That concludes legislation for this evening. At this time, we will have our second public period. Is there anyone who wishes to speak during public period at this time? If you would like to do so, you'll have 2 minutes to provide your comment, and we ask that you give your full name before doing so. Okay, hearing none, we'll now close public period. Next, we'll have council member and mayor's reports, and we will begin with Ward 1 and Council President McDonald.
I don't actually have a lot to report other than we are excited about the fact that we've submitted our Sustainable Maryland application, and we're waiting on feedback from Sustainable Maryland to see if there's any additional information that we need to provide. And I had an opportunity to scout the land with Ms. O'Connor. We went over to Cree and a couple other streets to look at how we may be able to take advantage of the grant that we have available to do those projects. And other than that, the partnership that we have with Forest Heights with the bicycling is moving forward. So we're excited about that. The kids are excited. I spoke to a few of them about getting together. So they're looking forward to reconvening our ride. So hopefully the trails will be up and running like they said in September, or at least where we could start getting back on the road. So thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Council President McDonald. Next, we'll go to Council Member Little from Ward 1.
Good evening. I don't have much either. I would just like to say thank you to Mr. O'Connor and DPW for taking care of the recycling issue that we had on last Monday, July 8th. And just want to remind residents to be mindful of what we do recycle, and maybe suggest that we have some workshops that we educate everybody on what we can and can't recycle. That is all.
Thank you, Council Member Little. Next, I'll go to Council Member Kennedy for Ward 2.
I think that we are moving toward the right direction. All departments seem to be on board with moving forward. I just want to remind the residents that there are ordinances that have to be upheld. We can't just bring in any type of vehicle and just leave it on the street with no tags, covered, abandoned. You definitely can't pull up a camper and live in it on the street. So I do appreciate our departments for doing their due diligence and sometimes just educating the residents on what's allowed and not allowed, because we definitely don't want it to become an eyesore. Um, I have another question, but I'm gonna bring that up later in new business. But no, I just want to thank everyone for what they're doing. A lot of people may or may not see what's going on, but there's a lot that's going on behind the scenes.
Thank you, Councilmember Kennedy. Next, I will go to Councilmember Hines from Ward 3.
Good evening. I would like to say the camp has started, POW Camp. I want to thank the police department and everyone involved. I think it is a wonderful thing that we're doing. You should come out and see it, council. Those that haven't, it is going on as we speak every day. So I thank all of the officers, Chief Reese, administration, Mr. O'Connor, thank you so much. It's getting better every day. And Mayor, I thank you. So yes, please come out and join us. Also, I would like to say, I'd like to thank Mr. Duell or Public Works. There wasn't, a problem with the rail out back. Once it was towed to Public Works, they got on it, they fixed it, so it is completed. So thank you so much for your quickness, your promptness. Also, I guess I do have another question, but I'll save that for new business. But thank you so much, Police Department. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Hines. This month, July, we already had our monthly observance. We celebrated Independence Day earlier this month. And I think we're light, so we get to take a little break from holidays, which means everyone's got to be at work and all of those things. So since we won't have our meetings in August, since council's taking recess, we won't have our regularly scheduled meetings. I just want to say, I don't know if it's congratulations, but we're going to wish all of our students and teachers well as they head back to school. By the time we meet again as a full council, we'll be in September. Our students and staff and teachers will be back in school. So we're wishing them a safe return and a safe next rest of the month of summer. Over the past month, or the past 2 weeks, I'm sorry, I've had a chance to visit several areas in town, visited some sites with water erosion, and looked at areas where stormwater is still an issue in town, including a couple of residences' homes. Yesterday, I had the opportunity to tour the MGM Casino and Resort with Greenwill, our lobbyist. Got to see some of the operation of MGM and also learn about their hiring practices and see the facilities and the environment that employees who work with MGM actually experience. I also learned that MGM has volunteered and supported Flintstone Elementary School, my apologies, which is one of the elementary schools in Forest Heights. And there's a booklet of community benefits that the leadership there shared. Yesterday was simply a tour, so we didn't discuss anything about partnerships or any new business. However, I think it would be good for us to invite MGM to come talk to the council, so council can share some of the ideas of how they would like to see partnerships grow between MGM and the town in the future. And so that was good, and want to thank Greenwill for the invitation to that event so we can start to build a relationship with some of our larger business partners. Attended the Powell Summer Camp, and I want to thank the police department, Chief Reese. I want to thank Marcus. I want to thank Mr. O'Connor for helping. Everyone's coming together, and we are doing some new things with the camp, and we're adapting to the hot weather. And we have a lot of kids that showed up this year more than last year. So just glad to see the overwhelming response. We know that the camp is needed, and we are looking forward to reporting on all the great activities happening this year so that we can do it again next spring and next summer. Also, as part of the POW program that's going on, we got four young folks who are working with the town as a part of the Summer Youth Enrichment Program through the county. So those young people are getting paid through the county, but they're here getting their first experience at work in the town of Forest Heights, which is nice. So happy to see them and have them involved this summer as well. just a couple admin items. The first meeting in September falls on Labor Day. So we'll need to shift the meeting either to the next day, that Tuesday, or to the following week. And I think we can cover that in new business. We'll get that handled. Also, as a reminder, meals are being provided every weekday at Forsyth Elementary School. Breakfast is between 9 and 9:30. Lunch is between 12 and 1 p.m. And that's going to last until Friday, August the 9th. So if you're one of the people in the community who needs or would like to take advantage of a meal, you can do so. 9 to 9:30 for breakfast, 12 to 1 for lunch. And that's all I have for Mayor's report. Next, we will. Well, actually, I move that we amend tonight's agenda to add a section for new business. Is there a second?
Second.
It has been moved in second that we amend the agenda for tonight, adding a section for new business. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 I have a question.
Are there any opposed? Okay, new business. Is there any new business this evening? Okay. Let's get your mic on, Council President. Sure.
I had a question. So was there an update too? Because I think you said you will follow up on the trail, the bike trail.
Oh, for the bike trail, yeah, no update yet.
Okay.
No update yet,
Okay.
but hopefully to have one soon. Oh, and you know what? I skipped that. I also saw the trail and saw that the bridge itself was out there on the site. It's not constructed, probably will be a little while before it is, but the bridge is on the site. And the asphalt on a large part of the path that runs through Oxen Hill Cove and Farm in front of Oxen Run is dug up and look like they're doing a lot of work, but we want to find out if they're still on time on their timeline. Hopefully they are. All right, is there any new business this evening?
Question.
Yes, Council Member Kennedy.
Several meetings ago, when we were talking about the constant yield tax, I believe, from what I recollect, that we were supposed to be sending out a letter to the residents to let them know what was going on.
Yes, I will give it to Mr. Kennedy for an update.
Mr. Kennedy?
I'm sorry, Mr. O'Connor, my apologies.
Okay.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, the letter has been provided to Prince George's County Government, the Director of Finance, and they are currently processing it with any tax updates that'll be sent out. So the ball's in the county's court at this point.
Yeah, and just an update, Councilmember Kennedy, council decided to not levy the increase or to not change the tax rate for residents and who are primary residents. So the change was for commercial businesses and for the unimproved property for National View. Mr. O'Connor, any other categories? Was it rented residential?
I can pull it up to be exact if you.
Okay.
The notifications that are passed and sent to the county was for commercial real property at 0.5313 per $100. The tax rate reported and collected in errors 0.0451. Rented residential real property at 0.4654 per $100 of assessed value. The error in report was 0.4286. Those are the two exacting areas in the table that were provided by Finance and to Prince George's County. The update that was also given, which you referred to National View, specifically states the Harborview parcels that were annexed last year received a partial tax abatement because of the properties have not yet been developed, but will be taxed at the rate of 0.10 per $100 of assessed valuation. And that are the three areas that are addressed in that letter and by the ordinance.
Thank you, Mr. O'Connor.
So for clarification, the county, the town is not going to be sending out the letter. It's going to be sent out by the county to all the residents.
Yes, I sent it over to the county and they are attaching that letter with their notification of the tax assessment with any updated tax bills.
Thank you.
And Mr. O'Connor, the letter goes to the properties that are the properties that fall under those categories, or to everyone in town? That's an area where I need clarification.
How the county told me is anybody that gets an updated tax bill.
Okay.
So anybody that'll be getting an updated tax bill will receive a copy of that letter as the
Okay.
explanation for why they're getting that.
Thank you.
So basically the residents won't get one explaining that the town is eating the difference between what was sent to the county versus what should have been sent to the county?
That's not the subject content of the letter for the purposes of this. And anything further than that, I'd have to.
No, to answer your question, Councilmember Kennedy, no.
All right, the reason I'm asking is because next fiscal year, the residents are gonna see an increase and they're gonna assume that we raised the constant yield, maybe not having listened to the meeting to hear that there was a hiccup this last year. So I guess I'm saying this for, just for transparency for anyone that's listening to this, why their next bill is going to be higher. Because I thought that's what we said we were going to do, was send out a letter to all the residents.
I just want to make sure I understand you. So the rate for this year stayed the same as last year. We ate the difference, and you're saying because the overall tax bill will be a higher amount?
Yes, because think about it. They're going to see a higher tax taken out because there was a hiccup on what was sent to the county the last time. So in essence, they're going to look at it as we raised the tax rate, when in actuality, it stayed the same, but the actual amount that we had stated was not sent to the county. So therefore, that amount wasn't taken out. So when we were in the meeting, I was under assumption that we said we would send out a letter to all the residents explaining that.
Okay, I don't recall. Let's discuss further and see if that's something we need to do and can do. Mr. O'Connor.
Mr. Mayor, if you want, the August newsletter has not gone out yet. It's just as simple as printing off the letter, and that went out to the county and sending it out. Doing it that way if you want.
Well, the
Unless
letter
we're
would
looking for
need
a
a
different description.
The letter would need a different body because it's saying something different. It's saying basically the $100 and $200 that would have been assessed as part of the previous fiscal year was waived. But this year will include it. And the rate is the same that the council passed last year and this year. But we ate the difference, or we decided to not bill for the supplement of the difference between what they were billed and what they were supposed to be billed.
Basically, the mayor and council gave a tax break in this that fiscal year based on the circumstances that were there. But moving forward in the other fiscal years, the rate will be assessed at the normal constant yield rate, is what the content is basically we're looking for.
Sounds good to me.
Okay.
Would you like me to draft a preliminary paragraph?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. I might also add that it could be helpful to the business's letter to explain the change for them as well. Just ahead of them receiving the tax bill, especially since some of the businesses in the community contributed to some of the events that we had this year in dollar donations and other donations.
If I may ask Ms. Payne one question, Mr. Mayor, on the newsletter,
Yes, sir.
will we have enough time to go ahead and if I get that letter with the printing that you're currently doing for this newsletter? For an insert? I just want to make sure, so we were on, so we could, if we get the letter out and turn around, we could put it as an insert and that would go to the businesses. It would go to the residents based on how we're doing things now, and we can ensure that it gets to the businesses as well. If that's the method that you would like to use.
I have a question since you brought up the newsletter. How is the newsletter being delivered?
Oh, hold on, can I?
Mr. O'Connor?
All right, so it's postal service and hand deliver, a combination for this next round.
Can you elaborate on that?
Give a little more context.
Sure. So what we've done is the every door direct mail on some of the routes is not working. What we found is that there's two sets of postal workers that are delivering mail on some of the routes. So we've removed one of the routes that hits Birchwood, and some of the houses are going to be hand delivered, which makes it easier to minimize or make the newsletters get there. Then for the overall, the every door direct mail hit the routes that necessarily don't have two postal workers. So some of the issues we were having, such as like Arapahoe Drive or other places that were not getting the newsletter, it's because the first postal worker would get the newsletters, but the second one wouldn't. So some houses would get it and some wouldn't because they've split the route up. So it's interesting how they're doing it. I don't quite understand why, but that's how they're doing it. But we're using those two methods to ensure everybody's getting it. And then what we're going to be asking is that if somebody reports to mayor and council that they did not get the newsletter, please provide us with the resident's name and address so we can ensure that we hand deliver one to them. Because what we found is that we're unable to do quality control by just not by saying a resident didn't get a newsletter. So we want to make sure that we follow up and get that resident a newsletter at that location.
Okay. Yeah, the every door direct mail, it's been very spotty. Because I haven't gotten it. So and I also want to mention that, you know, the postal service works for every tax-paying resident. And so if we have issues with it, we can raise a concern first to the postmaster or to the person who manages that branch. If we don't get a response or we're not able to work out the issue, we can also raise it to our senator. Senator Chris Van Hollen's office has been responsive on issues like this in the past. Because if we deliver it to them and has the addresses and we pay for the service, the newsletter should be delivered, especially from our local post office branch. All right, thank you, Mr. O'Connor. Is there any other new business? Council President McDonald?
I just wanted to bring up and just correct me if I'm wrong, on resolution 5924.
Mike, please.
Oh, they can't hear you online, Council President.
I want to revisit resolution 5924. And just to get clarity on the amount. So the dollar amount is $11,074.12. But the budget source items, one is for $8,000 and one is for $6,000, which is $14,000. So help me understand.
Oh, Council President, one point of order. In order to reconsider the resolution, we actually have to have a motion to do that after we move from that item on the agenda. Okay.
Item I have is the last day of I wanted to ask about the PAL, Chief Reese, last day of activities for PAL.
The last day, are you talking about the last day of camp?
Yeah, last day of camp.
It's what is it? August 3rd, I believe.
August 2nd.
Second.
Oh, August 2nd. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay, was it a textual error? Mr. O'Connor?
So the budget, there's 14,000 budgeted, but we only have to pay 11,000. So the budget, without hearing the question, I'd say the budget's right. We're actually going to save money and we'll be able to realign the funding that's there to
Okay, I'll let Council President look forward and see if we need to consider a reconsideration. And I'll come back to you just a moment. Councilmember Hines?
Two quick things. In talking to administration, Mr. O'Connor, we were talking about new neighbors moving into the town of Forest Heights. And if we could compile a packet, I'm having more neighbors move in. And so if we can get that really, together, because, with the ordinance or the charter or, the current newsletter, just some little things that we can just put together. And I know you said that you're working on it, but if I can get it sooner than later, I'd appreciate it. Thank you. Also, this goes to Chief Reese. Is it too late to get t-shirts for the PAL campers?
We gotta check with some vendors. I can probably, we may have an in-house type thing we may can do. Well, let's get some sizes and we'll talk to them, and I don't see why not. Let's try.
I'd appreciate it.
Okay.
As I said, thank you so much for all that you guys are doing.
Absolutely, we'll
Appreciate it.
definitely try, and I'll keep you updated on it.
Thank you.
I'm just trying to see where the difference is. So he's saying we save what? $3,000? It's supposed to be saved $3,000.
Is somebody talking?
No.
No. No. Is there any other new business at this time? Okay, well, the time is now 9:45 and this meeting is adjourned. Have a good evening. We'll see you all in September.